All right, good afternoon, and welcome to episode 22 of the Nutanix Weekly podcast. Have myself, Harvey Green, and got Jirah Cox from Nutanix. Jirah, how's it going today?
Harvey, doing well, man. How are you?
I am pretty good. We
I was
are
gonna say, I heard the host come on, and that you didn't sound like Andy.
right. We are sans Andy Whiteside today. He might come on, he might not, but we'll get it started without him. And hopefully we will have fun. And while the cat's away, the mice will play.
I'm not gonna sing just the two of us. So lower your expectations here.
Nice. So today we wanted to get in the episode about the blog, the Nutanix Mine Advances Data Protection Mission with Commvault. This was actually published today. So look at us being very current.
We're timely. Yeah.
Very, very daring out there, right? So Jirah, just I guess help remind us and to explain for some of us who don't already know, what is Nutanix Mine?
Yeah, so Nutanix Mine, right? One of the newer products, right, for sure, that you'll hear attached to Nutanix, and one of the newer use cases as well, I would say, beyond that, is targeting Nutanix Mine as a backup platform. So it's something that the platform actually is remarkably capable of doing, works very, very well, but not, been our 10-year, 11-year history of the company type of use case, right? It's newer than that. But one that works super, super well, powered primarily by our offering called Objects, right? Which is S3 based storage on Nutanix clusters. And the real benefit there is the growth, right? So Nutanix Mine starts with that premise of let's use Nutanix as a backup target and says, what do customers want out of their backup solution, right? Both the software and the storage. They want ease of use, right? They want simplicity. They want integration. They want to do less work, not more. And so Mine is what wraps all of that up in, I'm noticing we kind of get right into it, right? Like there's very little preamble on the Jirah Harvey
we do
focus show. I was like, wow, like we're really deep here, and we're like probably like 3 minutes in. We're gonna get in and get out.
I'll back us out just a little bit. Let me ask a crazy question here. One of the things that you mentioned in talking about Nutanix Mine is objects, and you made the reference to S3 storage. S3 is a term that I'm sure some people have heard before, and it might be new to some people. What is S3 storage?
Yeah, great question. So, like, of all the ways you can write a backup, right? Like, you can write it to a tape, which ultimately needs a file system. You can write it to like a NFS share or SMB share on a NAS, in which case the file system lives remotely on that NAS device. Of course, you can do anything you wanted to block storage as well. Like you can give your backup solution, just a disk and say, write to this thing. S3 is a storage, I'm going to say protocol. Someone might argue with me on that, but I think it gets the idea across. It's a way to write data to a storage target that is primarily like usually very cloudy, right? Amazon invented it like 10 years ago. It's what does it stand for? Good pop quiz. Simple storage service. I think we got there.
Look at that.
So the ability to write a file and then retrieve it, right? And maybe it comes from one location, maybe it's replicated and geolocated, and you would use that to run like a CDN, and store stuff, around the world, replicate copies of data. It's just a way to write data and then retrieve it later. And it brings some interesting capabilities. The first one is, since it's really abstracted from the underlying file system, it can grow to be huge, right? Like I think each piece of data can be like maybe like 5 terabytes or something ginormous, but you could have millions of them or billions of them. And so you don't hit underlying storage limits really as easily when the storage system like Nutanix can scale out underneath that S3 protocol or the protocol adapter or whatever's doing that S3 handshake and the HTTP or HTTPS to block storage conversion, like which for us that would be objects doing that for you. So that's what S3 is. The scalability, the simplicity, and then also really the security is what really brings it in, makes it very, very fashionable for backups today, right? Because of the world we live in right now, the current cybersecurity climate, right? All the attacks happening, a lot of attacks commonly, they can take out. I've heard of stuff that wipes the storage array itself, wipes the hypervisor, can wipe like blade chassis. That's just being petty right there, right? If you're gonna wipe my hypervisor installation on a blade server, like, man, you're really going for like the Grinch took everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and then can also wipe the backup storage target, right? And now if I take your backups away and take the primary data away, you're gonna have a really bad day. So with S3 as a protocol, the protocol supports worm storage. So I can tell the backup provider, like objects on Nutanix in this case, this data is never allowed to be changed ever, right? You're going to write it once and then you can read it a bunch of times, write once, read many, worm.
There you go.
But
I was just going to get to asking you that. You went ahead and did it anyway.
But it's not allowed to change. S3, to get really nerdy, S3 even supports that, I think natively as a protocol. It never changes data in place. If you want to create an update to a file, it actually writes a whole new file out and then just throws away the old copy of it. It never does granular modifications to a file. I think, keep me honest, I didn't invent S3, but that's my understanding of it. So then worm just says, deny that, write a new copy of the file, right? We're going to keep the old one around and it can never be destroyed until it's hit like your perhaps legal retention requirements, right? I must keep it for 3 years and it cannot be changed in that time frame.
So I can think of a lot of different scenarios in which that kind of data integrity would be very important.
Like backups?
Like backups, yes.
Like if I wrote it and I want to come back in 5 years and pull it back up, it shouldn't have changed in that time or been allowed to change in that time.
Well, and that's the difference, right? Not being allowed to change at all during that time. That's the big one, right? Because when something happens, like your Grinch stole Christmas analogy there, when somebody comes in and they wants to wipe completely everything, they can't change that backup file. Why not? Not allowed to. Why? How can that help me? What does ransomware do?
Yeah. No, for sure. Totally. Absolutely.
Comes through and tries to encrypt or change every file you have. But what happens, Jirah, if it's not allowed to change your file at all?
Usually the ransomware stuff I've seen. Yeah. Usually the ransomware stuff I've seen, it fails out, right? Like if it can't know that it was able to create the encrypted copy, it never deletes the primary, right? Because that's its whole failure mode, is it's trying to not destroy your data, just encrypt it.
Right. It's there to hold you hostage, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Otherwise it's just a virus, right? Ransomware only works because the data is in theory retrievable. So they've got to have an intact copy of it. So that's the history lesson, right? Of like launching Mine, using Nutanix. We can talk more about like why Nutanix is a platform. But so then like that's the table setting of like, and now what's really new here, right? And the what's new is, so now Commvault getting in the hot tub, right? So that simplicity of saying, how do I deploy the entire thing, right? The application that does my backups, my backup team, my backup admins will use day in, day out, and the backend storage that it will write to. How do I deploy that as easily as possible? Have that integration, for common dashboarding, all that good stuff. And so that's where Mine, and now with Commvault as an option there, right? Commvault can be the backup product layer that runs within your environment and writes to Nutanix Mine storage to create that enterprise grade, fantastic RPO, RTO, strong SLA platform and offering to do enterprise grade backups on the Nutanix platform. Whatever you choose to back up, whether you're backing up, physical, virtualized, whatever, right? That doesn't matter. That would all be between you and your software vendor compatibility list.
So if I'm already a Commvault customer, I can keep using the same Commvault that I know and love, and this just gives me another place to back it up to. By the same token, there, if I'm a Nutanix customer, how, and I'm looking at using Nutanix Mine, do I just buy more of what I already bought, or is Nutanix Mine a totally separate type of offering?
So if you were running Nutanix as your primary like compute cluster, then yeah, Mine probably for lots of great reasons should be its own cluster, right? It's probably going to be differently shaped. One reason why, backups on Nutanix is sort of a more recent thing. It comes down to logistics of just like form factors, node shape, disk sizes, right? I want, if you're doing backups, yeah, we want those like 18 terabyte, HDDs, right? Hard drives in there. We want to get lots of them, right? So we love these new form factors that can take like 24 3.5-inch full size disks in 2U, right? Very, very dense, very huge nodes that are pushing, I think, 300, 400 terabytes raw storage in 2U, right? Just staggeringly huge nodes that work really, really, really well as a backup target.
So normally when we talk Nutanix, one of the things that we talk a lot around is performance, right? So we've talked, a long time about how we can help build the Ferrari or the Lamborghini for people so that they can have the fastest performance available to them. We talk about bus speed, data locality, all of those things. And now what you're saying, or what I'm hearing, is that Nutanix is doing, a totally different trick where it's much more focused on making sure that you've got a very high storage density in a very small amount of space, and with much, much cheaper storage for your Nutanix Mine setup.
Yeah, right. It's still the world we live in, that backups probably hit some kind of magnetic tier eventually, right? And if they're going to do that, magnetic tier storage, performance comes from spindle counts. So we want to get lots of spindles per node, and you want the best density you can get, right? So the larger the drives, the more drives that can fit per node, the more that's going to make sense as a backup target for sure. Yeah. What's cool is I think was we bring all of the Nutanix, our AOS storage layer goodness to even that kind of prospect. So you mentioned like if you're already a Nutanix customer, right? So if you already know how to do, your AOS one-click upgrades, right? Which is just log in and tell it, boom, scan for upgrades and then go do them. Or, the way you expand a cluster and add a new node, when you understand how a CVM works and what the availability model of the node versus the cluster is, and how a CVM going down is just not a big event whatsoever, right? Not a big event to the cluster, not a big event to your day.
Right.
Doesn't leave you, diving out of a meeting to go fix that. Then you'll understand how that works as a backup target, right? So then reuse all of your learning from Nutanix running production workloads to Nutanix running backup workloads as well. And then other cool stuff that I think, just one of the reasons why I just love Nutanix and love working here and designing solutions that work for our customers, stuff like the fact that, we scan every block of storage that you've given us to hold at least once a day and verify that it's not bit rotting in place, right? We scan it against the metadata we have and verify we still have full integrity of all the copies of that data, so that when you come back to get it in 5 years, because this is a long running backup, a long retained backup, when you get it back in 5 years, it's like it matches what you wrote on day one.
Right.
So that, we've got active prevention in place that keeps that data from changing on disk, right? No matter how many solar flares want to come in and try to zap that drive.
So that's great. Yeah, that means that there's definitely some more added benefit in using Nutanix Mine and using all of the features and functionality that's already built into AOS to continue to, continue to help with the complete life cycle of your data all the way through backup and archiving for years.
Yeah, and fundamentally, right, it's in our DNA that we want customers to have choice, right? So if you've already grown to love Nutanix as a storage platform, don't want to learn another platform for backup, and it has performance and availability and data integrity benefits as well, right? So it's not just easy for you; it's also easy for your data. Right. Yeah, let's go with that phrase. You have even more options right under that Mine family of jointly engineered, jointly supported offerings that let us meet customers where they are. Right, if you're already a Commvault customer and that you love Nutanix storage, this is two great tastes that taste great together.
Nice. So if I'm listening to this today and I'm a Commvault customer, but I'm not yet a Nutanix customer, can I still get Mine? Can I still use all of this lovely, all these lovely features that I'm hearing about right now?
Yeah, for sure. So you can start anywhere, right? You can start with Nutanix just for backup. If that's all that your depreciation cycle has you planning for this year, that's totally fine, right? Nutanix running Mine, doing the S3 storage, running almost any choice of backup solution partner, including, of course, today's announcement, Commvault. Works great, right? Backing up whatever Commvault supports on its compatibility list as the ingest, and then writing out to Nutanix storage. Zero requirement that you're also a Nutanix production customer. Of course, we'd love you to be, and there's lots of great reasons why you ought to be, but for sure, no requirement on that.
Nice. That makes total sense to me. Hopefully, same to everyone else. Go ahead.
There's an eye-popping stat in this article.
So I was just about to say, in true Andy form, I am not, going down my blog post as I should. So go ahead. Let's talk.
Anybody can read a blog post of themselves, right? They come here for the discussion and the commentary.
That's right.
Maybe the choose your own reading order.
That's right. Sometimes we start talking and we've gone through every point the blog post was supposed to make, and we haven't even started trying to. So,
except for this one, right? So what caught your eye here?
No, you said you have an eye-popping statistic here, right?
Yeah. So this stat, the blog post cites 146% increase in ransomware attacks since February of 2020. So call that, as we record this, 17 months ago. So 18 months ago. So
I would call that pre-COVID.
Well, sure. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. You heard it here first.
So
some people went home and quarantined at home and learned how to make bread and watch Tiger King. Other folks went home and launched new strains of ransomware.
Right. Yeah, honestly, I think that's, where a lot of it kind of came from, right? People with, we'll call it time on their hands. Time on their hands.
The facts support the conclusion for sure.
Which is also funny as I say that, because, normally, when we talk about bad actors and things that they're doing, normally people have this conception that these people don't have jobs, or they don't have anything to do all day. I think this probably supports the conclusion that they actually do have something to do until COVID hit and they were on lockdown.
Oh yeah, no, as many attacks as you hear about these days that are from either like state sponsored shops or at least not shops where the state is turning a blind eye to their operations. It's a wild thought to have, right? That those folks had to go work from home too, right? There's some middle manager at some kind of a terrible ransomware, command and control development and operations shop who's like, I've got to monitor all my, bad guys working from home, make sure they're being productive, whole different degree of empathy there, right?
That is hilarious.
What a wild mental picture to have. But
we're way off topic now.
we said short and sweet, get in, get out. So it's just wild, right? I think that's 146%. That's a 2.5x increase in amounts of attacks. And I think if you look at, calendar 2019, that wasn't a no ransomware year, right? There was plenty of events that happened then. And now for two and a half times that amount. That's, I mean, it jives with what you see in the newspapers, right?
Right.
Those aren't a thing. It jives with what you see online.
It jives with what we see, right? I mean, we've seen that pattern for sure, that it's a lot more prevalent now than it used to be.
Yeah, attacks left, right, and center.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I can't vouch for 146%, right? But I can definitely vouch for it's a lot more common than it used to be. I'm definitely not going to come back and say, well, no, it's not 146. It was only 143. It was definitely a big deal. So it's funny you should bring that up, because we were already talking about the advantages there of the worm storage, write once, read many, and the fact that it does help with ransomware and help you protect your data against it, since nothing and nobody has access to change that data once that backup has been written.
I think it speaks to the why more than anything, right? Like, is Nutanix a great platform for data storage? Absolutely. Including backups? Also, yes. Is Commvault great technology to write those backups? Also, yes. But the why is just your data needs to be safer than ever,
right?
Because it's never been in so many crosshairs at once, right? Human error doesn't go away. Change control is still needed. All that is more or less, I'd say, static. And then everybody outside your firewall is trying to get to your data more than they ever have, right? So yes, does Nutanix, Mine with Commvault have ease of use benefits and creature comforts and great data integrity as a platform? All of the above, for sure. But do you have more of a need as a data owner and IT leader to, have better SLAs to the business and better recovery from like some of our worst case nightmare scenarios? Also, yes, right. And like start there and then define requirements for a solution, right? And then of course, if Nutanix Mine with Commvault, matches your requirements, for sure. But maybe the biggest call to action, right, is just don't assume that what worked for you for data protection 4 years ago is still going to be sufficient.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny even mentioning that, because like people really like IT or things that come from IT because they're always changing, they're always getting better, right? So if you're in IT and you're still doing things the way you did them 4 years ago, like that sends its own message. So it's definitely something you want to look at. We do a lot of talking about what we can do on the front end for security, what we can do to stop things from happening. This conversation is all about making sure that you have a plan for after something happens. Something that I talk about all the time with people is, in IT, it is never, ever about if, it is always about when. This is your protection for the when. We couldn't, we do our best to stop it and make it if, but once it actually happens, you have to have a plan to get back to normal, to get back to, what you had, to make sure your data is there. And, we kind of touched on this before, right? To make sure that you can actually trust the data that you've backed up. A lot of times, you have backups where you've actually, put in place or backed up the actual thing that's causing you to have to go back to your backups. So the fact that you have this immutable backup and that nothing can write to and nothing can do anything to it once it's already there is a big, big, big plus for you in knowing what data you can and cannot trust.
Yeah, it makes those backups more usable in more scenarios, right? There's fewer scenarios that compromise those backups. You get down to network power, physical availability almost before you have a scenario where you can't get to that backup data. Yeah, no, I mean, I love to be the drum of the tabletop planning you do, right? The hypotheticals that you kick around and say, how would we recover from X, right? That you do with your teams. That's it's invaluable, right? The time pays for itself for sure to think about where would we be exposed and do that kind of creative thinking. So, well, Harvey, we have 2/3 as many hosts, and I'm sad to say we didn't go any shorter today. So I think we found the problem here, buddy. It's you and me.
Nice. Well, that's okay, right? Because they like listening to us, I think.
There we go. That's what I'm sticking with.
It sounds like the best conclusion I can come to.
We found another theory that fits the data. Perfect.
That's awesome. Right. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, no, thanks a lot for discussing that with me today. How can we learn more?
I am convinced that the best way to learn about Nutanix is to do the test drives, right? Just hop onto a live cluster, get hands-on experience with it, see how it does. It even has crafted choose your own adventure discovery tracks of I want to learn about backups or application deployments or data resiliency. Go in there, do the test drive. One of the easiest ways to really see the live product running in your own browser tab. And of course, beyond that, anybody can reach out that wants to reach out for sure. To XenTegra as well. I mean, clearly, you know this stuff as well as I do. So reach out to your friends that are happy to chat about it.
Nice. I'll throw out there too, for those who want to learn more about Nutanix as a whole, we've got a workshop coming up on August 13th at 10 a.m. You can sign up for it on the website XenTegra.com, or you can send me a line. Just drop me a line on LinkedIn or send me an email. I appreciate your time today, Jirah. Let me just add to you that we got to start over because I haven't been recording, and I hope you're ready for that.
All right, cool, man. That was a fantastic dress rehearsal, man. Way to go! This is going to be a great episode once we get it recorded.
All right, I didn't forget. I wanted to see how you'd react to that, though. All right, thanks a lot, and we'll look forward to everybody's topic and feedback on this one, and we'll do the next one.
Talk to you next week, man.
Thanks, Jirah.
You bet. Bye.